It is 12 noon in Paris. It's 1 p.m. in Athens. I'm Monita Rajpal. This is World One, live from London. As European voters grow increasingly frustrated with austerity, a wind of change blows through two Eurozone countries, France and Greece. We'll be hearing from Jim Bitterman in Paris. Matthew Chance is in Athens, and Diana Magnay will provide the German reaction from Berlin. But first, it's this new start for Europe, as they're saying. That is the big promise from the new president of France.
Dans la rue, ils sont...
International correspondent Jim Bitterman joins us now from Paris with more. And Jim, so Mr. Hollande is promising to push away from the austerity measures that were in place. What does he know that Europe's economists don't?
Well, I'm not sure he knows a lot more than they know. Basically, he's saying, I think, that there should be a growth aspect to this sort of
Jim, thank you. Jim Bitterman there in Paris. Well, change is also in the air in Greece. A new coalition government will now have to be formed after voters deserted the ruling parties in Sunday's election. Between them, the two parties making up the current coalition only got around a third of the votes. That was a huge downturn compared to their results in 2009. They suffered a backlash from voters angry about wave after wave of austerity measures, job cuts, lower wages, poor pensions, and politicians now have less than 2 weeks to come up with a new governing alliance, and if they don't, they'll have to set a date for another round of elections. So who could actually take charge in Greece now? CNN's Matthew Chance is in Athens. He joins us now live with more on that. Matthew. It'll be interesting to see also what the political landscape will look like within Greece in a couple of weeks if they don't come up with a coalition government. Now, Matthew, thank you so much for that. Matthew Chance there in Athens. Now, Germany has been France's partner in pushing Europe's unpopular austerity measures. But how different do things look this Monday? Voters in France have rebelled, and what happens next in Greece, as we're seeing there, is also open to question. We want to bring in Diana Magnay, who's joins us now live from Berlin, where everything, I guess, Diana, all roads now lead to where you are.
Well, Monita, I don't think that the outcome of yesterday's duo elections in Paris and in Athens were really what the German Chancellor was hoping for, but I think she was pretty clear that that was probably going to be the outcome, that Hollande was going to win. She'd always backed
Spain, as whether you see something as a glass half full or glass half empty. All right, Donna, thank you so much for that. Donna Magnay there live for us in Berlin. We want to see what newspapers in Europe are saying about all of this. Let's begin with the Wall Street Journal's Europe edition, and with this headline, the austerity misdirection, and it's an analysis piece that says governments engage in austerity not because they want to, but because they have nowhere to get the money they'd like to spend and spend. The German people don't want to tax themselves or indirectly tax themselves with inflation, so Spaniards, Greeks and Italians can spend the money. Well, the Greek daily newspaper, the Katamarini, has this headline on its front page: election swing leaves Greece in limbo. The article says this about the two largest parties in the old government, the PASOK and New Democracy. They say that even if they were able to agree to form a coalition, it would have weak political legitimacy in wake of an election that saw Greek voters move en masse toward parties that opposed the bailout. And finally, here in Britain, an opinion column in The Independent is headlined, "Rise of Far Right Threatens to Pollute Politics Across Europe." And it goes on to say they may not have claimed ultimate victory, but the biggest winners of the elections in France and Greece were the parties of the extreme right. Vladimir Putin has been sworn in as Russian president. These were the scenes at the Kremlin in Moscow, where the inauguration took place just 2 hours ago. There was a 30-gun salute, part of a ceremony attended by 3,000 people. That's according to Russia's state news agency. Well, CNN's Phil Black has been watching the day's events and is live for us in Moscow. Phil, he talked a lot about restoring or having restored Russia's dignity. How did he do that, and how is this day? How are Russians looking at another future, a future with Putin as president for the foreseeable future, I should say?
Well, understandably, I guess, Monita, mixed thoughts and feelings amongst Russians today.
Phil, thank you. Phil Black in Moscow. Polling stations are open in Syria today. Under a new constitution, the country is holding its first multi-party parliamentary elections in decades. But the opposition calls the whole thing a farce and is asking voters to stay home. The elections are being held despite ongoing unrest and violence. Ara Damon reports now from the battered city of Homs, where finding shelter can be a risk. This is World One, live from London. The political party of Nelson Mandela is coming under some harsh accusations. Find out. The African National Congress is accused of threatening the democracy that Nelson Mandela fought so hard to establish nearly 20 years ago. Some incidents of violence have been blamed on the ANC by an opposing political party. CNN's Robin Curnow examines these cracks in South Africa's rainbow.
In the shadow of an armoured police vehicle assigned to protect him, small-town mayor May07 puts on a bulletproof vest.
Now, the anti-austerity message was also pretty clear in Greece, where voters punished the ruling coalition in Sunday's election. Neither of Greece's two main parties won a majority, and they've got less than 2 weeks to form a new coalition government or call another election. Elena Penaritis is a member of Greece's PASOK party. She's also an economic advisor to the Prime Minister. She joins us now from Athens via Skype. Elena, thank you very much for being with us. I'm curious to know, your party did not do well in the elections yesterday. How did you feel when you woke up this morning?
Well, I really stayed up last night. It was pretty clear what was going on. And I have to admit, it was rather expected that we will not do very well.
Because no one really has any real answers to how to get out of it. Ms. Penaritis, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time. So how has this political shift in Europe affected world markets? CNN's Jim Bolden joins us now with not very simplistic question, nor a very simplistic answer for that either.
Well, European markets started the day down, no surprise. In Athens, they were down more than 7%, the market, but it's actually come off its lows. And I think when you look at the numbers and see that the two parties who make the current coalition only need 2 extra seats to get a majority, then that's when the horse trading is beginning, as you said, right now. So it's really hard to predict how that's going to play out. And yes, there may very well be another election. Markets don't like that kind of uncertainty, but in the more
get it to put your government together in the first place. All right, Jim, thank you very much. You are watching World One, live from London. Big Sunday of European football to tell you about some top leagues are winding down their seasons. Amanda Davis joins us now with all the action.
Hi, yeah, it's crunch time in Europe for those leagues. And 6 years after the shame of the Calciopoli match-fixing scandal, Juventus are back on top of Italian football.
Focus. No, nothing's going to shatter their concentration. All right, thank you
See you
very
later.
much. You're watching World One. So the big moon this weekend, did it seem bigger and brighter this weekend? Well, meteorologist Mari Ramos will tell us why that was. Operations continue in Japan after a rare tornado struck north of Tokyo. Meteorologist Mari Ramos at the World Weather Center with details on that. Mari.
This was quite a weekend across Japan. On Sunday, a series of strong storms moved through that area. I want to show you, first of all, the areas that were hardest hit. We're talking about 3 prefectures just north of Tokyo, a densely populated area. Really the worst case scenario when it can come to any kind of natural disaster, because the death toll could be quite large. But in a way, amazingly enough, we were relatively lucky. Let's go ahead and roll the pictures of what we have over here. Let's go ahead and look at those images. This is brand new video, Monita, and I don't speak Japanese, but you can hear the panic in the people's voice here as this huge storm starts approaching. You can definitely see the funnel cloud as it gets closer. You see the debris starting to look absolutely fabulous. Let's go ahead and roll some of the pictures. This is from right here in Atlanta. You know what? I was lucky, Monita, because I was up in the mountains when I got to see it. The super moon, full moon, of course, closest to Earth. Just happened to be one of those cosmic things, and it was brighter than usual. Back to you.
Beautiful, beautiful indeed. Would explain a lot of weird behavior around this weekend, but let's just leave it at that.
There you go.
All right, Mari. Thank you very much for that. Well, let's take a look at what's trending on social media now, shall we? At number 3, Golden Dawn. Election talk is dominating the web, and in Greece, this party on the extreme right has raised its profile hugely. It won its first seats in parliament on Sunday, getting 7% of the vote. Some people are saying on Twitter they feel shock and disbelief that the anti-immigrant party has so much support. At number 2, a fast rising search term on Google right now, austerity. We've seen from election results in France and Greece that European voters appear to be growing increasingly frustrated with wave after wave of cuts. And now people are wondering what the political changes will mean for the economy. And with the economy the way it is, it seems we're all in need of a hero these days. So at number 1, the Avengers have conquered America and the World Wide Web, at least for the weekend. This is Robert Downey Jr., who plays Iron Man in the movie, and the Avengers smashed U.S. box office records after selling more than $200 million worth of tickets in its opening 3 days. The record was held by Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. You are watching World One live from London. I'm Monita Rajpal. Thank you for joining us. Stay with us. We'll update you of the news headlines at the top of the hour right here on CNN.